Hi, everyone, and welcome to our walking tour of historic downtown Hutchinson, Kansas. Nestled in the heart of Reno County, Hutchinson was founded in 1871 by Clinton C.C. Hutchinson, a railroad investor who saw the potential for a new settlement along the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. The town quickly grew as settlers arrived, drawn by the promise of fertile farmland, abundant natural resources, and the opportunities of the expanding American West. Hutchinson earned its nickname Salt City thanks to the discovery of vast underground salt deposits in the 1880s. Mining became one of the city's major industries, fueling economic growth and attracting workers from across the region. Alongside salt, Hutchinson developed a strong agricultural and industrial base which helped the city become a regional hub for trade, commerce, and culture. The downtown area itself, which we'll be walking through, became the heartbeat of the city. Grand theaters like the Fox Theater, elegant office buildings, and historic hotels rose up, showcasing the city's ambition and civic pride. Hutchinson also played a role in the early development of railroads and was a key stop along major transportation routes, making it a gateway for settlers, merchants, and travelers heading west. Beyond its industry and commerce, Hutchinson has always valued community and culture. The city boasts historic architecture, charming public spaces, and landmarks that tell the story of triumph, innovation, and everyday life here in the American Midwest. As we walk the streets, we'll uncover the stories behind the city's most iconic buildings, the people who shaped its growth, and the moments that made Hutchinson the vibrant community it is today. Here on the corner of Walnut Street stands a solid brick building that's worn more than one name over the last century. Today, most people know it as part of the Reno County Museum, but back when its doors first opened in 1917, it was a brand new symbol of prosperity, the Great American Life Insurance Building. At the time, Hutchinson was booming and the city leaders wanted buildings that reflected ambition and confidence. The insurance company occupied the main floor while the upper floors were filled with offices buzzing with activities. Over the years, tenants came and went, one of the most colorful being radio station KWBW, which broadcast its programs right here inside the building. As decades passed, the building shifted roles. By the 1950s, the insurance company had moved on, and a new name took root, Klein Insurance. For many locals, that name struck so firmly that the building itself became known simply as the Klein Building. But time has a way of reshaping even the most solid of landmarks. By the 1980s, the Reno County Historical Society was searching for a new home for its growing museum collection. They needed something sturdier, something with history and presence, and the Klein Building, standing tall since 1917, offered exactly that. On the northeast corner of Avenue A and Walnut Street stands a building that once pulsed with the energy of typewriters, ledgers, and the chatter of eager young students. Today, the Salt City Business College building is a relic of another era, but for a full century it helped shape Hutchinson's business community. The college itself began in 1879, long before this sturdy brick structure existed. In those days, Hutchinson was a fast-growing town, and business schools were seen as gateways to opportunity. Young men and women came to learn practical skills like bookkeeping, shorthand, typing, and other tools that could help them secure jobs in the offices springing up across Kansas. For decades, the school shifted from one rented floor to another, but its reputation kept growing. And by the early 1900s, under the leadership of President G.L. Moody, enrollment climbed and the little college needed a permanent home. The answer came in 1916 when this two-story brick building proudly was built here on Avenue A. It's designed with the classical stone columns and a carved lintel that declares Salt City Business College, giving it a stately, almost court-like appearance. This was no fly-by-night school, though. It was built to last. The year was 1911 and Hutchinson was buzzing. President William Howard Taft himself came to town, not for a campaign stop or a speech, but to lay the cornerstone of a brand new building, Convention Hall. Imagine the scene, a sitting president placing that stone, the first time such an event had ever happened in Kansas. Hutchinson had made it big time. When the doors opened in 1912, the hall was a marvel. It seated nearly 4,000 people, split between the main floor and sweeping balconies. And in a feat of engineering daring for its time, the entire structure straddled Cow Creek, anchored on piers like a fortress built over water. For decades, Convention Hall was the place where Hutchinsons gathered. If something big was happening in town, politics, concerts, basketball, it happened here in this building. On its stage, stars like Johnny Cash, Tina Turner, Gene Autry, and Willie Nelson lit up the crowds. In its arena, athletes battled before overflowing stands, especially when Hutchinson became home to the NJCAA basketball tournament in 1949. The noise, the chants, the squeaks of sneakers on hardwood floors, Convention Hall gave it all a stage. But Cow Creek has a way of testing even the strongest foundations. In 1941, a flood swamped the hall, damaging the floor and raising doubts about whether the building could survive. Still, Hutchinson patched it up. But by the mid-20th century, wear and tear began to show. Renovations in the 1950s gave the hall a facelift, but by the 1990s, the talk of demolition started growing. The old building was expensive to maintain, and many thought it had outlived its usefulness. Then, in 1996, came a turning point. The city put the building's fate to the people in a special election. The result? Hutchinson voted to save it. With the restoration came a new name, Memorial Hall, a nod to its role as a civic landmark and a reminder of its redeeming value. As we stroll towards the Reno County Courthouse, we're now walking through the downtown historic district. Many of these buildings that we see date from the late 1800s through the early 1900s. This gives us a chance to see some really kind of unique architecture along the way, as well as some of the many thriving businesses here in downtown Hutchinson. In the early days of Hutchinson, county business was conducted in a grand old Second Empire style courthouse that was built in the 1880s. It had towers, ornate decorations, and a certain charm. But charm can't hold up forever. By the mid 1920s, cracks ran through its walls, warning that the building had outlived its usefulness. Staff actually were evacuated in 1925, and before long the decision was made. The old courthouse would be torn down. But Reno County wasn't about to let its government operations falter. In 1929, amid the uncertainty of the approaching Great Depression, county leaders broke ground on a bold new courthouse, an Art Deco masterpiece designed by William Errol Holson Company. This wasn't just to be a functional building, though, it was a statement. Even in tough times, Hutchinson and Reno County were looking towards the future. By 1931, the new courthouse rose, 6 stories tall, its buff-colored brick and Bedford limestone gleaming in the Kansas sun. The vertical lines of its Art Deco design drew the eye upwards, giving the building a sense of ambition and modernity. Enter through the central limestone tower, and you would find inside a grand 2-story entry hall, burled walnut woodwork, marble baseboards, and even decorative light fixtures that made every day at the courthouse feel just a little bit more ceremonial. For decades, the courthouse stood at the heart of Reno County Courthouse, bustling with trials and legal debates. Administrative offices ran with quieter precision, and county business, everything from record keeping to policy, flowed through its door. In fact, a jail once occupied the 5th floor of the building, but in 1971, a new law enforcement center was added next door, allowing the courthouse to focus more on civic administration while keeping law enforcement close at hand. This building here on West 2nd Avenue stands as a testament to the city's evolving commercial landscape. Currently housing Sunflower Electric Supply, this structure has witnessed the transformation of Hutchinson's downtown over the decades. In 1923, the Davis Child Ford dealership relocated to this address, marking a significant shift in the area's commercial activities. In 1886, Hutchinson's skyline was still finding its shape. The town was young, but its ambitions were grand. Here on the corner of Main and 2nd Streets, a new structure was rising, one that would become a cornerstone of the community's financial and architectural heritage. This building, constructed as the Bank of Commerce, was designed in the Romanesque Revival style. It's characterized by its robust stone arches, heavy masonry, and a sense of permanency. The Bank of Commerce served the community for several years before evolving into Citizens Bank, which opened in 1887 diagonally across the street.
This is Tom.
In the early 20th century, this site was home to the Kansas Lumber Company. In 1919, amid a regional oil boom, the owners announced plans to construct a large hotel on the lot, anticipating the influx of workers and travelers. However, it wasn't until March of 1929 that Emery Colin took out a building permit for the hotel, which officially opened its doors in September of 1929 as the Leon Hotel. The Leon Hotel was designed in a blend of Mission and Romanesque Revival styles, featuring elements characteristic of early 20th century revival architecture. Over the years, as the needs of the community evolved, the Leon transitioned from a hotel to what it is today, the Leon Place Apartments. As we continue to walk down 2nd Avenue, one building stands quietly among the others. This red brick structure that we see seems to whisper tales of the city's early 20th century hustle and bustle. Built in 1915, this building was no ordinary office. It was the Hutchinson headquarters for the Arkansas Valley Interurban Company, part of the electric railway network that connected towns across Kansas. The building itself was designed in a style that mirrored the era's optimism, the prairie style, with its horizontal lines and flat roof. For decades, this corner was alive with motion. Workers scurried to manage schedules, passengers came and went, and the interurban cars carried people and goods across the Arkansas Valley, linking Hutchinson to the wider world. In the early 1900s, Hutchinson's downtown was a bustling center of commerce. Among the many businesses that lined the streets was the Centney Wholesale Grocery Company, a significant player in the city's economic landscape. This building that we see in front of us served as the company's headquarters, a hub of activity where goods were stored and distributed throughout the region. Built in 1904, the building is a great example of early 20th century commercial architecture. Its design reflects the era's emphasis on functionality and durability. As the years passed and the nature of commerce evolved, the building's role shifted. By the mid-2000s, the structure had been repurposed to meet the changing needs of the community. And in 2008, the building was transformed into Centney Lofts, a modern apartment complex offering urban living here in the heart of Hutchinson's commercial historic district. Here in the heart of downtown Hutchinson stands a building that has served the community for decades. Built in 1940, this two-story limestone structure was designed in the Art Deco style, characterized by its clean lines and geometric forms, very similar to the Reno County Courthouse that we saw earlier. Over the years, the building has undergone some alterations, but it remains a key part of Hutchinson's architectural heritage. Inside the building, the post office itself, there is a mural called Threshing in Kansas that was painted by Cincinnati artist Luman Martin Winter in 1942. The mural depicts a scene of wheat threshing, reflecting the region's agricultural roots. Today, the building itself continues to serve as the Hutchinson Post Office and offers a wide range of services to the community. Here in the very center of downtown Hutchinson stands a monument that quietly commands respect, a silent sentinel to the past. The Soldiers and Sailors Monument, located here at the intersection of First Avenue and Walnut Street, is a tribute to the Union soldiers and sailors who served during the Civil War. The journey to erect this monument began in 1915 when Hutchinson hosted the state encampment of the Grand Army of the Republic, a nationwide organization of Union veterans. Inspired by the event, a committee was formed in January of 1916 to oversee the creation of a memorial. By 1918, the monument was constructed at a cost of about $20,000 and was officially dedicated on Flag Day, June 14, 1919. The monument itself stands 41 feet tall and is crafted from white granite. It features a 9-foot statue of Abraham Lincoln amid a tapered shaft, surrounded by 4 life-size figures representing an infantryman, artilleryman, cavalryman, and a sailor. Flanking the monument are 2 bronze Confederate Civil War cannons. These pieces are a testament to the era's military history and serve as a reminder of the nation's past conflicts. Commissioned by real estate speculator and agribusinessman James S. Hoke, this building was constructed in 1910. It's designed as a 4-story commercial block and it once featured retail spaces on the ground floor and office suites above. The structure itself was strategically located to serve the growing wheat industry, providing office space for various grain companies and related businesses. Among its early tenants was the Hutchinson Board of Trade, a grain exchange founded in 1910. As we continue down First Avenue, our eyes are drawn to this elegant Art Deco facade, glowing faintly with the promise of stories and memories. This is the Fox Theater, a jewel of the 1930s, and for nearly a century, it has been the city's window to the world of film, music, and live performances. The story begins in the depths of the Great Depression. While much of the nation was struggling, Hutchinson dared to dream big. The Bowler brothers, renowned theater architects in the Midwest, were commissioned to design a theater that would rival anything between Kansas City and Denver. The result, this majestic palace of 1,221 seats with soaring ceilings, intricate moldings, and a sense of glamour that transported every visitor the moment they stepped inside. On June 8, 1931, the Fox Theater opened its doors. Hutchinson celebrated with a week-long festival, a splash of light and excitement in a challenging economic era. Residents flocked to see films that whisked them away to far-off lands and to experience the theater itself, which was as much a spectacle as the movies it showed. The lobby sparkled with polished floors and decorative lightings, stair rails curved gracefully, and the theater's neon marquee glowed like a beacon, inviting all to pause their worries and enter a world of stories. Through the decades, the Fox became more than just a theater. It became a social anchor for the city. Families celebrated birthdays here, young couples had their first dates under its neon glow, and generations of students sneaked inside to see matinee adventures. But time is never gentle, even on the grandest of buildings. By 1985, after decades of faithful service, the Fox closed its doors. And for 5 long years it sat silent, its seats empty, the screen dark, and the marquees neon dimmed. Yet the people of Hutchinson weren't ready to let their beloved theater fade into memory. In 1990, a nonprofit organization was formed with a mission to restore this historic treasure. It took nearly a decade of fundraising, planning, and careful restoration, but by 1999, the Fox was reborn. Every detail was lovingly preserved, the Art Deco elegance, the soaring ceilings, and yes, even that famed neon marquee. As we've seen in the early 20th century, Hutchinson was a town on the rise. Nestled in the heart of the state, it was a bustling hub for agriculture and commerce. Amidst this growth, one man dared to dream bigger than most. Vernon M. Wiley, a determined dry goods merchant, had already made a name for himself with the Rurabaugh Wiley Dry Goods Company, a staple in Hutchinson since 1901. But Wiley wasn't content with just being a successful businessman. He envisioned a landmark that would symbolize the city's prosperity and ambition. In 1912, he set his sights here on the northeast corner of 1st and Main Streets, where the 3-story Opera House stood. Wiley had plans to replace it with a grand 8-story skyscraper, an audacious move for a town of just 20,000 residents. At the time, no Kansas or Missouri banker would lend him more than $330,000 for the project. But undeterred, Wiley traveled to New York City and convinced the president of Chase National Bank to finance the construction. The banker reportedly told him, "Mr. Wiley, if you have the nerve enough to build an 8-story skyscraper out in the middle of the prairie, we ought to have the nerve to lend you the money." Construction began in September of 1912, and by November of 1913, the building was ready for its grand opening. On that day, over 10,000 people toured the new structure, which was hailed as the tallest building west of the Mississippi. The Rurabaugh Wiley Company occupied the first 4 floors, while the upper levels housed more than 90 office suites, including the Commercial Club and the Hutchinson Board of Trade. The building itself is designed in the classical revival style. The first floor, emphasized by a greater height, contained a ground floor and an open mezzanine where there was a popular tea room at one time. For over 7 decades, the Wiley Building stood as a testament to Hutchinson's growth and ambition. However, by the mid-1980s, the department store had closed and the building began to show signs of neglect. It remained largely vacant for nearly 3 decades, a silent witness to the changing times. But in 2013, a new chapter began for the Wiley Building. The building was purchased and an ambitious renovation project occurred. The building itself was transformed into the Wiley Plaza, which now features 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. I hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder tour here in downtown Hutchinson, Kansas. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Take care now. Bye-bye.